Come on. Nothing.
All right then. Good evening, everybody. I
Good evening,
apologize.
sis.
We are a little beyond 8 o'clock, and I apologize. I know sometimes when you come expecting to be at 8, and then we're not getting along at 8, then you perhaps feel a little unhappy, but not to worry. Um, as per usual, I'm still not very technologically savvy. So we have to just work humbly with what we have to do. All right. But thank you, everybody, for always being here. And thank you for being here on time. And I suppose that's a little encouragement to me to ensure that I pick up on my techno knowledge and skills so that I will be able to be there with you on time at 8 o'clock. All right. Um, I I know that we have some individuals here that are coming for the first time. We are few in number, but I still want to start because usually everybody comes along a little later on. So I want to say, um, I want to say welcome, or a little bit of housekeeping as usual. I want to say welcome, and I want to say it's very nice that we can share again in this way. And I look forward to every Thursday evenings at 8. And I hope that you're looking forward to these meetings as much as I look forward to them. And I also hope that you are benefiting tremendously because the reason for us having these meetings is not just to commemorate or to celebrate with me and all the others that are living above cancer, but in order for you to gain some insight and some knowledge and some wisdom into the whole food, plant based, rejuvenating, rehabilitating, recovery diet that God has so ably designed for all of us to enjoy and to heal our bodies. As usual, at this time before I go, I like for us to pray, to talk to the Lord, so that we can gracefully go through this session. Let us pray. Eternal Father and our God, we give you thanks and we honor you and we worship you because truly this is your mission. Father, we just ask that you continue to forgive us and to bless us and to be with us and to be the center of our joys throughout this session again. Thank you for the wisdom and the grace that you have extended to us. And thank you for all the individuals, Lord Jesus, that join me here at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. Please continue to help them to grow in wisdom and please help me to grow in wisdom so that I too will be a great inspiration and educational tool for many people who are in need of such. Father, forgive us where we have failed you today, and please continue to give us your grace in Jesus' name. Amen. So, our updates. We are actually at the end of November, and that means we have gone through 3 months already of our wonderful meetings, right? I have enjoyed it so much, and I'm putting together a little booklet on all of these things that we did from lesson 1 up to now lesson 13, to see and to see, so that I can make them available to the individuals who are the visitors who have come here, and also for them to share with the people around them that they are trying also to win with this great wholesome whole food eating and balanced way of life. All right. There's a lot to learn, but there's also a lot to gain from all that we are sharing. All right. Another update is that I have finally gotten a lot of the additions to my little kitchen, which means that next week we can get into our kitchen. And that is, I believe, what a lot of people are looking forward to. So next week, hopefully, we will start in the kitchen, right? We are going to make simple things. We're going to make simple meals. And with I know a lot of people are looking forward to the holidays. And even though I don't celebrate Christmas, um, there are still a lot of things that, I mean, people who are not necessarily of my faith, you may be vegan and you're trying to figure out what can we do for this time. We are going to get into that in the holiday time. We're going to make some serious pot roast. We're going to make some serious gravy. We're going to we're going to do a lot of wonderful things. Jamaican, serious gourmet style Jamaican holiday food, right? So of course, as I said, we are going to be able to go into our kitchen very, very soon. Now, finally, ouch, tonight, as I said, we're going to be continuing on the live food, but we are going to be doing freestyle tonight. This is a practical freestyle, you and I talk kind of meeting. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few little details and information. And after that, we are going to talk openly where I'm going to ask individuals from this meeting here, group visitors. I'm going to ask you to suggest anything that you love, any little food that you love. And then I am going to propose to see if we can put together actually a recipe for that particular thing. And I'm going to make it, create it, and hopefully on our next meeting I can show you all of these. And also I can try to talk about some of the how to do it now, and you can write it down and you can go home and talk and try to do it, and then we can share it in the meeting as you always do. I'm hearing so many nice things from people who are just sharing and trying to make all the things, and that is fantastic. All right. Okay. So now, simply and to the point. If I am planning to go raw, or if I'm planning to do a week of just raw foods, I might be saying, no, most of my food is raw, personally, right? So I'm extending this now to everybody else because listen, the best way to heal your body, nourish your body, get all the valuable enzymes from your food, and just generally rehabilitate your body cells, your muscles, and all of that, is to have your food in their natural or close to natural state as possible, so that all the natural enzymes and all the vitamins and minerals, untouched and unspoiled, will basically be entering your body. Right? No, the drawback with this is that we have to wash our fruits and our vegetables and our grains and our beans. We have to wash them very carefully because there are a lot of things that can go wrong if we don't. No, I'm sorry. I don't know if a lot of you have heard that there is a big E. coli breakout now, and they are literally recalling all of the romaine, lettuce from everywhere that they are on all the shelves. And we have to look at things like these, right? Because having something like that in its natural state and not, of course, washing it properly, or, I mean, maybe it's contaminated water that they have used to irrigate the vegetables. So things like these. All right. So things like these we have to notice, take note of, and we also have to be aware completely of. All right. Now, so where do I find my nutrients if I really want to just go live food for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month? So let's talk about the proteins, which of course you know is it's a real essential part of how we eat and what we eat. Our proteins, we find a lot of that in our nuts, in our seeds, or peas. Now, when I say peas, I mean things like chickpeas, right? Um, Dried chickpeas, we can soak them overnight. We can mill them into a flour, and we can make them into a paste. And for some of them also, we can, if we soak them for longer periods, they become a little softer. Once they become a little softer, we can just make them into, blend it into a nice little mush, you know what I mean? And then we can just dry it, okay? We have string beans, you know, we call some, in some countries they call them the green beans. And we have the broad beans that, um, these are actually young beans, but all of these you can have them in their natural state. You don't have to cook them. You just break them and have them. Wash them carefully. Wash them carefully. Prepare them. Prep them before you have them. And of course, you have your grains, because you have things like wheat. You have wheat berries. Um you have quinoa. You have millet. You have all kinds of different grains that, and you, in having them in their natural state, of course you will have to prepare them. If you're going to have them, you have to soak them for at least 24 to 48 hours so that they are soft enough for you to consume them, right? And a great way to have things like, for example, quinoa, you soak it for maybe for probably a day and a half, and then you can blend it, and it will become something like a paste, and you can just spread it on your dehydrator sheet and you dry it out, and you'll get, it's a great meat protein you can use. You can make a burger from that. Um you can make a really nice snack that you can just cut it in strips, and you get a really nice snack. Or you can use this as a sandwich, a delightful sandwich middle. And they are endless. The different opportunities are endless when it comes to raw food. So now for your carbohydrates, where do you find your carbohydrates? Again, in the tubers. You can find your carbohydrates in things like, you can still have your sweet potatoes, you can still have your pumpkin, you can still have your yam. But what do? You will now have, well, for yams, you, especially yellow yams, you have to be careful with that one. But for things like white yam, all you need to do, and green banana and plantains, what you will do is you cut them, peel them, wash them very well, slice them thinly, and you dry them, dehydrate them, and then at the when they're done with being dry, dehydrated, you can make them, grind them into a powder, and that will give you a great way to have your carbohydrates. You can use things like oatmeal, and you can actually access other grain flours. So, and you can use them in your preparations. You can even use them in smoothies. you know, and you can still have your carbohydrates getting into from your tubers, right? Um, okay, so I've mentioned it. Things like soybeans. Soybeans are there. It's such a complete. It is such a complete food. You understand? You can use it for protein. You can use it for carbohydrates and numerous other vitamins and minerals. It's just an absolute complete meal. So, but what you have to do is try to make sure that when you're having soybeans, try to have organic stuff, right? So that you avoid things like that E. coli craze, and you can avoid some of the insecticides and those pesticides and stuff entering your body, because it's a great number of havoc that they can reap, right? So things like soybeans, you can have soybean flour, you can have soybean milk, which you don't have to boil or cook or so. You can have it just by using the complete raw. For example, if you have you okay, so you have the soybeans. You wash them, you soak them overnight, and then you blend them. You make the flour, and to get the soybean milk from the flour, what you do is you place 2 tablespoons of the soybean flour itself, the ground soybeans, 2 tablespoons of that. You place it into about 8 or 10 ounces of water, and you stir it well or put it into the blender with the water. And there you go, you have your soybean milk. All you need to do is strain it, add a little honey or maple syrup, and you have, or vanilla. Oh, I love vanilla and I love nutmeg. So you put these things, just add these things into it, and it's delightful. I love it with molasses. I love to have it. I love to have the soybean milk with molasses. It's absolutely fantastic for me. All right. So now you want to have live food, but you're thinking about where you're going to get your vitamins and minerals from the source. Vegetables, fruits, seaweed. It's crazy. Irish mush. This is something that I remember a couple of programs back. I deliberately say to you, try to add things like mushrooms and seaweed into your diet daily. If you can't do it daily, at least do it as frequently as possible, because these are essential. Things like sea moss. Let me tell you, sea moss is the same as Irish moss that we always have. Irish moss has 92 of the 102 minerals that you need for your body. 92 of them. So it is on par with the soybean, which, as I said, the soybean is a complete type of thing that you can food that you can get from the soybeans. Seaweed, sea moss, just the same, right? And there are numerous other seaweeds that you can have. There's dulse, and there's a number of others. You can use them any way you want, delightfully. Incidentally, when I'm making things like raw bread or raw crackers, I dice them up and I put it into it. Sometimes when I like to have the bean tuna, and when I put it in there, I dice it up, and it's delightful. All right. And you add additionally, you add a lot of things like iodine into your diet, and the iodine is great for the thyroid system, and it's also very good for the entire endocrine system. It's absolutely marvelous. All right. And you see, the Lord is our master teacher and master designer, and he knows exactly what he's doing when he names the plants, when he puts that. You did some time ago, we talked about, and you had a guest lecture from Dr. Price, and we talk about color coding our food. The Lord, the color of the fruits and the vegetables and all the other foods that we have, they are not by chance. For example, for carrots, carrot is orange, the garlic is white, cranberries are burgundy, the Lord, or red, whatever. The Lord knows exactly why he did that. Why? Because they provide specific vitamins and minerals because of their color. They have specific antioxidants and specific enzymes that allow these plants to have this color. For example, beetroot. If you notice the beet, it has a significant dark red. It's not because by chance the Lord just wants to make it pretty. Yes, he does, but he also color codes it so that it will relate to specific enzymes, specific nutrients, and specific purposes in our body. For example, let's look at things like, let's go back a little bit to nuts. Oh, wait, nuts are okay. When we get to fats, look at the nuts and some beans and peas. They are shaped according to the part of our body, that organ in our body, that those particular foods are directly related to. So, for example, we have kidney beans. Do you see the shape of it? Because that particular bean has a great impact on our kidneys when we consume it. And because of that, but you see how smart the Lord is? He did all of that out of his own wisdom. And now humankind is catching up on all of that. Now let's look at fats. Where do you find your fats? We have healthy fats like coconut and avocado pear. Now, let me tell you, I don't know if there's anybody here that loves avocado like myself. And that has come from way down. So when I was a little toddler, I grew up in the country with coconuts, lots of them, and lots of avocado. We love them things. It's fantastic. But it's great for your body too, right? Avocado, coconuts, and just regular nuts, peanuts, walnuts, almond, cashew. No, everything in moderation. All right. Things like walnuts. Walnuts is excellent for the brain, and if you know, and it's excellent for other organs in the body too, the liver. And when you look at the shape of it, you understand exactly what I'm talking about, the wisdom of God, right? But fats that you get from nuts, coconuts, avocado are healthy fats, but everything in moderation. All right? Okay. So now, how do I find my nutrients and have them and I'm able to consume them in my food if I'm going live, if I'm going to have raw food? By soaking beans in water, peas and beans. Let me tell you what happens. When you soak your beans, we did a whole program on sprouting, and I am hoping that we have begun our sprouting journey and we are enjoying it, because sprouting does a lot of things. When you sprout your grains, you can use it to make bread, you can use it to make proteins, you can use it to make your sandwiches, and you can just blend it with your oatmeal in the mornings, and you have a beautiful probiotic rich breakfast. I'm telling you, it's delightful. I never knew just how lovely it was until I sprouted my lentil beans because I wanted to make bread. And then I decided in the morning when I wake up, oh Lord, what do I eat? And I just had a handful, and I added it to my oatmeal, and I added a little maple syrup to it, and a little bit of vanilla, and it was delightful. And something that I like to have too is coriander and cardamom. Those are delightful herbs and spices that you can. If you don't use cinnamon, you can use cardamom and coriander, especially cardamom, and it has a beauty. It just has a really um, different flavor, but that you probably have to get used to. But it's amazing for your body, right? So soaking your beans in water, and when you soak them, once you soak your beans overnight, in the morning you're going to find them starting their little pushing out, right? They start sprouting, and once you pour up, and you see that water that you pour off when you soak the beans, you can actually use it on your plants, because when if you have your florals or you have your other garden plants, if you use it, that's it's nutrition, it's minerals and vitamins, um dense in that water, so you can use it. Or If you want to give, you can feed it to your animals. For example, if you have birds, if you have your cat, your dogs, this is literally full of vitamins and minerals, right? And once you soak your peas and beans in, they begin to sprout. And you know, it's once you drain off that water, they keep on sprouting. And that is probiotic rich foods. Aids your digestion. We did that some time back, and we continue to talk about that. So I won't dwell on it, right? But that is one of the first ways when you are going to have live food, or if you decide to go on a raw food diet, you have to get acquainted with sprouting, because that is where you are going to be able to keep your body alive, keep a lot of your other live foods rich and balanced, so that the digestive process happens the way God intended it, in a very simple and healthy and helpful and wholesome way. All right. Now, we talked about the sprouting, drying your fruits. You can no, a lot of dried foods. You go into some of the health food stores, and you go into some of the pharmacies. Everybody is getting onto the thing of selling dried foods these days. But let me tell you something: selling drying your foods, dehydrating your fruits. You have to do it in the simplest, most wholesome way. So when some of the dried fruits that you buy in the stores, they have other things that are added to it. Things like metabisulfite that preserves the color. So when you buy mango, you really get yellow mango. But guess what? If you dehydrate it, all you have to do is just dip it in a little say a little maple syrup or honey and water, and let it drain a little bit, and you won't lose the color very much from that. And when you dry your fruits, you have to also be aware that you are trying to preserve some of or most of the nutrients and those beautiful little enzymes that your body is so in need of, right? Now you can find your nutrients in juices. You, by the way, the Lord really intended for us to have our vegetables and our fruits as they are, not necessarily to juice them and then throw away the fiber, right? So if we have to, we can juice them, but don't throw away what is left behind from them. That's why we must clean them properly before we juice them, if we are going to do that. Because for the vegetables, if we get, okay, so we juice them, keep the vegetables, whatever is left behind, you use it. All you have to do is add some spices and some herbs and stuff like that to it, and a little oil if you have to. And you can just put them in the dehydrator, and you make crackers with them, you make flat bread with them, and you can also add some nuts, things like sunflower seeds, because you remember we did food combination on a whole program. So what we can do with the vegetable, we things like sesame seeds and sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, those are better able to be combined with our vegetables so that we can consume them. So never the fruits and vegetables, but the seeds and the grains and the vegetables, and the seeds and the grains and the fruits, those can be combined. So what we do is we add some spices and herbs, and we add perhaps sunflower or pumpkin seeds, and we can make it into a real nice um protein strip, protein slice for our sandwiches, or we can make it into a nice meatloaf, and we are great. We can make it into nuggets. We can make these are absolutely fantastic, wholesome ways that we can have our food. If we have the okay, so when we juice the fruits, we have a lot of the sediments left behind. Don't throw them out. Use them for your biscuits. Just add. You can probably You probably might want to add a little almond flour, add a little maple syrup, add a little vanilla, and just bring them together. You can add a little flaxseed that will act as your, your egg, and you can make it together into a nice little cracker and put it in your dehydrator. There's nothing nicer that you can snack on, or in the morning, even when you're having your supper, you can have these nice little delightful crackers. You know what I mean? And for individuals who you're as scared as I am when you go out to have something to eat. You can drop them in a Ziploc bag, and you can stick them in your bag and go around. Munch on them at lunchtime until you get back home, and it's delightful. You can have smoothies. You can find you use them. You have green smoothies. You can we as I said, we did the food combination. You can look at how you combine foods from that program that we did some time ago, and it will give you an indication of what foods you can combine, what vegetables you can combine, what fruits you can combine, and you can make a nice fruit smoothie, a vegetable smoothie. You're getting the fiber, you're getting all the enzymes, and you're getting all the nutrients, right? um Having less processed foods, that's a great way to have that's a great way to have your food, having less of the processed foods. All right, a little cool. Yeah. So that is also something that we have to consider. um the idea is that if you're going to have raw food, if you're going to have raw food, you are going to have it in as natural and as close to natural as possible, because what you are trying to do is to not is to ensure that you are preserving as much of the enzymes, as much as the food as possible, the nutrients, I mean, in the food as possible, retaining the enzymes. We talked about that. Another way now to find to basically have your food, and your nuts and your grains and your seeds, is to have fruits in purees. And if you have a dehydrator, you can make beautiful things like fruit leathers, and you can have them for your meal. You can cut them up in your oatmeal in the mornings for your cereal, and it's delightful. You can make almond paste. You can make things like peanut but you can make all of these things from nuts, grains, and seeds into paste and purees, and you are still finding your wholesome nutrients. All right, you have things like a lot of people, if you're vegan and if you're going to go raw, a lot of people will say to you, where's your B12? Well, here's this. You have things like nutritional yeast, and there's a big furore going on. Oh, don't have nutritional yeast. Now, let me tell you, we have to be careful of the sources of things that we are doing, right? And if you don't want to have the nutritional yeast, then there I also have a recipe for how you can make an alternative to nutritional yeast that we can talk about later on. All right, but suffice it to say, the paste, having your nuts and seeds in the paste and purees, is also another way to find your nutrient through having your live food just the same. All right, now, having raw food does not mean having raw eggs, raw or uncooked, undercooked meat, raw milk, and raw seafood. No, I do not mean that. All right? And I'm not purporting either that in a we indulge in a meat-based diet. I am advocating that we look at having a wholesome, whole food, plant-based diet as God intended, because He made our bodies, He created our bodies, He knows exactly what is good and healthy and best for our bodies. All right? We follow His plan, we never go wrong. Now, is raw food really raw food? How do we determine this? Now, if our foods are sun dried, meaning we can if we have a clean place, we can dry our foods outside the windowsill or on the wall next door or something like that. All we have to do is place the stuff. All right, for example, if we want to say make our own fruit leathers and we don't have a dehydrator. If we want to make our foods and we don't have a dehydrator, we can always do sun dry, right? All that we do, we get one of those cookie sheets, and we line it with our parchment paper, or in the country we used to call it when we were growing up baking sheet, baking paper. So you line it with the parchment, and you slice your fruits and you put it on it, and we can use a plastic, something that um the water will not come. If it rains, we won't have that, we won't have water dripping in, and we won't have insects crawling through, right? Spread it with the plastic on top, and we leave it in the sun. Of course, you keep checking it, and in another 2 or 3 days up, you will have delightful dried foods. All right. um Dehydrator cured foods, right? um in your dehydrator, if you notice, we have temperatures 115 to 118 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sorry. And this is according to raw food individuals. Your dehydrator, if you're going to do dehydration or dehydrate your foods, then you have to stay within a limit of 115 or less, and up to 118, no more. Your food will still be regarded as raw if it has not been heated above 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Now, I mentioned powdering your tubers earlier, right? That is another way of having your food raw. I have a lot of things like that. Breadfruit flour, um, plantain flour, sweet potato flour, carrot powder, beetroot powder, pumpkin powder, stuff like that. I have a lot of those things. And I mix them in my food. I mix them, I make my smoothies, I mix them with my oatmeal. I love to have oatmeal and stuff like that. And you are still getting the complete nutrients that you really and balanced that your body needs requires. Okay, so if you are going to use your dehydrator, um try to not get beyond 118. If you go beyond 118, you're cooking your food. All right. Okay, the winner takes all, and that's one of the cardinal rules of having a raw food diet. You will become a winner, and you're going to take all. And what does it mean? You use all the parts of the plant. So if for example, for vegetables, you're going to make a green vegetable smoothie, or you just want to have some juice, a green vegetable juice, you still have the sediments of the vegetables behind when you get the juice, and you still have that you can make all kinds of nice things with. You can make nuggets, you can make bread, you can make crackers, you can make proteins. All of that you can still have. So in my kitchen, if I'm making my raw food, I don't waste anything, right? I ensure, even my carrots, as soon as I'm done juicing my carrots, I just mix it. Sometimes I mix it with a little of the spices, if so that I would use if I'm baking something. So I'd use a little maple syrup or a little honey. I would use a little vanilla, a little cardamom, a little cinnamon if I am going to, um, and a little vanilla, and I make it into a biscuit and I dehydrate it, and up you go. It's delightful. And the carrot and the beetroot, they have their own sweetness, so it's delightful, just like sweet potato. And if I'm going to make, like, maybe say a savory bread, I add a little garlic, a little onion, basil, oregano, um, and I'd add other and things like uh just other herbs. I mean, sweet peppers, stuff like that. And I crush them in it, and I make it into a nice little savory biscuit, and I put it in my dehydrator. And these are delightful. At the end of the day, when you've had all these little things, your body still feels clean, you're full of energy, and you are contented in what you have eaten, right? So we use all of the left behinds, right? So
You
the
finished?
fruit, hello,
Thank you.
hello. So so if you are having, say, fruits, anything that's left behind in the from the fruit, you can mix that up and use it to make your biscuits and your bread again, and use it to make your cereals, and that give is fantastic. And you can, it's the funny thing is, you can have the skin and the seeds of a lot of the things that are out there. For example, look at jackfruits. You can have the fruit inside of the jackfruit. You can use it for proteins. You can use it to make your meat. You can eat it just as it is. But guess what else? You can have the seeds too, and it's just as rich as almond. So all you have to do is dry them, take off the shell, and you grind it. And when you grind it, you can mix other things. When you grind it, it's like almond. It looks like the almond flour, and it's delightful. Or the sunflower powder. It's great, delightful. All right. So the way to go. Finally, we're down to the exciting part. This is where I'm going to tell you um, about some of the things that you can make in a raw way. Flatbread. Um, so if you're going to make a flatbread, which is one of the things I love to make because it's easy, you can mix up anything easy in your dehydrator. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, I'm sorry, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you're ready to eat, you know. So for a real good flatbread, you could mix ground flaxseed with your with something like a little oatmeal flour, and you can add maybe if you have fruits left behind, you mix them all together until it's in a paste, and you just spread it on um, some parchment paper and put it in your dehydrator. Or most dehydrators come with what is called a Teflex sheet. Or you just spread your thing on it, and in 24 hours you have great flat bread. I tell you, it's delightful. A great way to do it when I'm doing my flatbreads is that halfway through I peel them off the Teflex, and then or if I use the baking paper, I just peel them off and flip them, and I get a real nice crisp on both sides. Now you can make donuts. So a flatbread, to make flatbreads, it's just, as I said, oatmeal flour, some fruits, the sediments from your fruits, um, and then you can also use your ground flax seeds. Mix them together, or you can add a little water if it's too dry, or you can perhaps add a little soy milk or a little nut milk if it's too dry. Then however you put it in, it's gonna get, but not too wet. It's gonna get really nice and crispy. So if you're gonna make donuts, you're gonna make donuts for, and you're a raw food person, you can eat donuts too. All that you have to do is mix your nut powder, mix your something like almond or walnut powder. You add a little tahini, or you can add a little coconut butter, or you can add a little almond butter, and you mix them together. You can add a little sweetener, mix them together, and then you can use maybe one of those little corks from one of your drinking water bottles, something as small, or you can use a spoon if you like, and you can peer out the middle, um, Just roll it together in your hand and press it together like you're making a dumpling, and just make a hole in the middle and put it in your dehydrator. In the morning, you have really nice, delicious donuts. All right. For your crackers. Now, for your crackers, you can use vegetables, you can use the fruits, you can just add, if you're going to use fruits and you want to get your crackers, you can just add maybe some little vanilla or a little nutmeg if you do, and keep it as dry as possible and place it into your dehydrator overnight, or within 24 hours you have your crackers, right? If you don't have a dehydrator, you can put it in your oven, but you have to watch the temperature no more than 118 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very, very minimal. All right. Um, if you're going to, you can make meatloaf. You can make meatloaf from combining just nuts and seeds and grains. Sorry, nuts and seeds. Yeah, nuts and seeds and grains. Depends on which of them you like. I personally like quinoa quite a bit, and that's all I can eat really because I am sensitive to I am sensitive to eat gluten. All right. Okay. Um then I did mention the sandwich slice before, which is, but I'm gonna give you one of my absolute favorite. I make a little tomato, I get a little tomato paste, and then I place the tomato, and I use a little bit of Irish mash, and I use a little bit of onion, garlic, and basil and oregano, and I mix them together. And when you blend it, it becomes kind of a little paste. All you do is spread it on your sheet, on your Teflon sheet, and make it into a little circle, and it will dry. And you when at the end, and you can flip it halfway through, and it will become really dehydrated. You can actually just use it for your sandwich. It's actually become something like a bologna, and it's beautiful. Pizza, oh pizza. Use your you can use your sunflower seeds, and you can add a little nutritional yeast, and you can also use your things like the carrots. You can blend them together with a little green peppers and onions, and what you do, you blend it until it gets together, depending on if you want it crunchy. I like it crunchy, so I don't usually make it into a paste. And once you do that, you spread it on the sheet, allow it to dehydrate, and there is your pizza dough. What do you do? On top, you can make a little raw cheese. Remember, last time we did the sea moss cheese, and you can just make a little cheese by adding, just adding some sunflower seeds or almond to your blender, and then you add just a little bit of coconut oil, some nutritional yeast, onion, garlic, and some green peppers, and blending it together into a paste, and that's you can use that as a cheese topping on your pizza dough, your raw pizza dough. And then you can slice your vegetables, slice things like your um you can marinate your no, your mushrooms, marinate them in probably soy sauce. That's low sodium soy sauce, of course. And then you can use them as a topping. You can also shred your carrots. You can then drizzle them with a little sesame seeds, and you can add things like pineapples if you want. Well, pineapples would probably not be very um, great when it comes to food combination. All right, because we wouldn't want to be crossing over. So now you can shred. You can also add some onions or just some green peppers. Just dice them, and you leave them there, and you place them in the dehydrator or you can place it in the dehydrator for about probably 30 minutes, and everything will basically come together as if it's baked. But you don't need that, because all you need to do is combine everything together, leave it right there, and you just slice it and have it. It's absolutely fantastic. And that is how I have my pizza. All right. Now it's time for the visitors. It's your forum. You now, I'm giving you the chance to talk to me about um, any recipe that you'd like to see a vegan version of, or you would like to try a vegan version, and you'd like me to tell you how we can do it, or share with you some ideas how you can do it. You can just share it in the chat for roundabout now. I know most people, you would like to find out how. Most people have a hang up on cheese. Most people have a hang up on chicken wings, stuff like that. You can just indicate in the chat any recipe that you'd like me to veganize for you right about now. We have about 10 minutes to do that. Boy, everybody has gone quiet on me, right? Excuse me. Is there anyone that would like to talk to me about any recipe that they might want to do? No? Huh? Oh my. Huh? I'm gonna give yeah, giving I wanna give you some time to think about it. One of your favorite food that you want us that we can try to veganize tonight. We can try, all right, okay, so I'm gonna start it off. I know some people they like chicken wings. So we're gonna veganize chicken wings, right? So first we're going to make the actual wing. So we're gonna get some white beans, maybe. Beans, white beans. And then we're gonna add them with some, what would I say now? Okay, so if we're gonna use it, we're bearing in mind that we're doing the raw version, right? So we're gonna add some beans, cooked beans, some as I said, white beans, some almond flour. Then we're gonna add a little garlic, onion, a little salt if you use it, a little nutritional yeast, and then we're going to add a little bit of the oatmeal flour and okay, and just a little bit of water, enough to get it into into a ball that is nice and spongy and soft, but not runny. When we get it there, we break we take off a little piece, enough about to make us a wedge, the size of our thumb or the height of our thumb, right? We roll it, and then we hold it in the middle, and we kind of flatten the top to so that it will get the shape of the wing. The top, I think it's the top section, the shoulder section of the wing, and we make a batter so that we can, if we're going to deep fry or we're going to bake, whatever, preferably that we would bake it, because deep frying has a whole lot of other things. We would have to do a whole evening on that to show the difficulties and the dangers to your health, right? So we would make a batter with a little corn flour or arrowroot and a little garlic and a little onion, a little oil and some water and a little bit of nut milk. And we make that into a little paste. And then we after we have rolled that into our hands, we roll it into the liquid. Then we have in another bowl now we would put some a dry mix. So we would add things like What would give us something nice and crispy now? Another type of flour. We can use a little bit of cornstarch if we use cornstarch, or arrowroot if we can use arrowroot. If you use, well, because these are arrowroot powder, and you won't need to, you can, these you can tolerate in its raw state. And you can just use it use it to basically dredge the protein. And if you want to, you can brush it with some spices and so on and so forth. But once you dredge it in the liquid, dredge it in the dry mix, dredge it in the liquid, and dredge it in the dry mix again, then you can put it into your dehydrator on the sheet. I don't know how many of them you'd like to make, but you put it into your dehydrator, and it basically stays there for about 12 hours. And at the end of it all, you have really nice chicken wings. That's my version of chicken wings. I don't recall being crazy about it, but I mean, that's one of the things that I know a lot of people are. They are so hooked on it. They can be. Another thing is cheese. Another thing is cheese. All right. Somebody would like the recipe for the sea moss cheese, which is also a raw cheese, uncooked cheese, right? Okay. So here's how we do it. Now, you you get your sea moss, and about a hand, I would say probably about a cupful of sea moss, right? Bearing in mind that if you have a handful of sea moss that is not cleaned, when you're done cleaning it, you're going to wash it under running water, of course, and you pick all the seaweed out of it, and you pick all the shells that you might find out of it, and you wash it nicely and get all the salt out. You put it to dry. Once you leave it out in the air, it's going to dry, right? So that is, you can preserve it by drying it, right? Now, once you wash it, okay, and you get out all of the sediments, all of the other things out of it, what you need to do then is to soak it, right? Once it is clean, just place all of that little sea moss into a bowl and add just enough water to cover it, right? Leave it overnight, right? When you leave it overnight, when you come back, it's going to be triple what you put in into the bowl, because it's going to swell right back up as if it was in the sea, or it was in the ocean, right? When you get to that point, you drain the water, and that water is full of iodine. I'm telling you, it's full. But you don't need to have it. You can use it to feed the animals, that kind of thing. So you drain the water, right? And you get your knife, a sharp knife, or you get there's something called the kitchen shear, or if you have a sterilized scissors, you can use it and clip it into smaller pieces, because let me tell you, you can seriously lose the blades of your processor with that same CMOS. It's a great thing, but let me tell you, man, them bones on it, the stem is what they call the bones, the Irish moss bones. And when that gets caught in the blade, it is absolutely crazy to get it out. So just cut it up into little pieces. Put it into your food processor. Now, when you put it in your food processor, you can add about a tablespoon of water, right? And you blend it. Blend it, everything. It's gonna give you a little trouble, so you might have to stop each time and use your spatula or your spoon to scrape it back together. It will take some time. But the important thing is that you use as little water as possible. because you're really now making a gel, and you need as little water as possible. So when you put it in there, use about, as I said, about a tablespoon or two of water, right? And keep on blending until you get a smooth paste, right? Now you pour that into your jar if you however you want to store it. The best way to store it is to pour it into a jar, a glass jar, and then you can put it in your refrigerator, right? But to make the cheese, you need as little water as possible. Okay? So when you're done making the paste, when you're done making the paste, um, you can now add to that some. Oh, I didn't tell you to soak your cashew. If you have unsalted raw cashew, that's what you need. Raw cashew, unroasted, unsalted. Soak them overnight so that they are nice and soft, right? Pour off the water, and then when you have made your gel, you add if you want to use half of the gel, or if you want to use a full amount, depending on how many mouths you have to feed, you can add, I would say probably, if you are going to use a handful of sea moss, that is going to make you about a cup when it gets back to its original puffy state, or it's going to make you about probably 3/4 of a cup. So you would need about 3/4 of a cup of the soaked cashews, right? So it's half and half. And so when you've done that, you now put them both together in a food processor, or a high speed heavy duty blender, and you blend them together. If you want to add a little salt, if you use salt, you can add a little stick, just a little bit of it. And also, if you want to add a little bit of coconut oil, real extra virgin coconut oil, you can blend them all together. It's going to become a nice little ball, or one of two things will happen. It can either remain as a paste, a very thick paste, or it can roll itself into a little ball. Either way, when it's done and it's nice and smooth, you place it into a mold. Place it into a mold, meaning put it into a container that whatever shape you have, small, whatever can hold. If it's a square container, if it's a round container, just place it into the container, and then you cover it with the plastic wrap, saran wrap, cover it properly in your bowl, and you stick it into the refrigerator. Now, the longer it stays in the refrigerator, the firmer it becomes. So if you leave it in your refrigerator for 4 days, 3, 4 days, it's going to be nice and thick and firm. And you can slice it, you can dice it. If you don't use a little salt in it, you may have to add a little of that. But adding a little salt will bring up the taste when you're ready to eat it. Because remember, that it has no taste, and the cashew has absolutely no flavor. It has just a dense, bland flavor. And once you leave it there and it becomes firm, you can unmold it, mean you can just throw it out and you slice it and you put it on your pizza, on your sandwiches, and that now will be your sea moss cheese, raw sea moss cheese.
Good evening, Dr. Price. How you make the raw carrot cake?
Oh, hi, is that Brother Noble?
Indeed, Dr. Price.
And how is the gentleman? It's good, man, to have you here, man.
Yeah,
Welcome, welcome. All right, so you're gonna make a raw carrot cake.
right.
Now, listen, you don't need a dehydrator for a raw carrot cake. All
Okay.
you need is your refrigerator. All right?
Yeah.
So here's what you're going to do. Listen, I always reach halfway through my carrot cake, and I end up by the time I finish grating the carrot, I want to eat it off, or I squeeze out the juice, and it's like, you know what I mean? Anyway, here's what you do. All right, depending on the size cake you're gonna make,
Yeah.
right? You grate your carrots. You wash, of course, I cannot emphasize enough. Wash and clean the vegetables as much as possible. All right. By
Right.
the way, Brother Noble, I am working on your bread. So tomorrow you shall have your bread and your pizza. All right.
Definitely.
All right. So now your raw carrot cake. You will need if you are for a reasonable size cake, you will need 2 medium-sized carrots, washed and cleaned properly and grated. So you grate it. You know the old time grater? You can
Right.
use that.
Right.
Or if you have a really nice industrial type um food processor. But if you use the food processor or the blender, you are going to get a mush, right?
Right.
You're not going to get the shreds. So
Right.
it's really better if you use the grater, if your fingers can manage it,
Right.
right? And you can squeeze the juice too. Squeeze out some of the juice. You don't need all of the juice,
Right.
right? And that in itself is another meal. So when you squeeze
Wow.
out all of the you don't have to squeeze out all of the juice, because if you have a little juice in it, it helps to give you a little moisture. You
Okay.
understand?
Yes.
And there's nothing like a moist carrot cake. I
Right.
tell you, I tell you. Now, so you have those 2 medium carrots washed and cleaned that I said and grated. Squeeze out
Right.
about half of the juice. Enjoy the juice and
Right.
all of that. Then you get some almond or sunflower seeds. And if you have the flour, all the better, use the flour. And then you don't need, if for 2 medium carrots, you need probably about a cup,
Okay.
about an 8 ounce cup of the flour from the almond or the sunflower seeds,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Now you set aside that, or if you want to put the shredded carrot that you get half the juice out, place it into a bowl. So you just keep on placing everything. You
Right.
place also the nut flour in there. If you use nutmeg, you shred a little nutmeg.
Right.
If you use some cinnamon, you add a little cinnamon. You don't have to use cinnamon, you can use cardamom. All right.
Right.
You can add those. If you want to use a little vanilla or a little vanilla powder, you can add that to it. Now, mix them together nicely. You can add a little molasses if you use if you want to, not an exceptional amount, because you know the molasses has its own character, right?
Right. Right.
Or you can use a little maple syrup or a little honey. But remember, the carrot is very sweet already.
Right.
Okay. Now, what you can do now is you place those in the bowl, stir them up together, set it aside so that all of the little flavors will come together, right? You can make your flaxseed egg. As a matter of fact, before you do your carrot, make your flax or chia egg. So you would use about for 2 medium, that's about a cup and a cup. You could use 2 tablespoons of chia or flaxseed meal and then you add 3 or 4 tablespoons of water to it in a cup or a little bowl, and you set it aside for about 15 to 20 minutes. I like to do it about 20 minutes to half an hour because it becomes something more of a gel. I like the way it gels when it stays a little longer, right? So you set that aside so it can gel together. All right. So that's number one, and number two is the carrot mix. Number three is your soaked raw cashew,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Right. So you are now going to blend the cashew, the soaked cashew. You need about a half. You need about a half cup of that blend because you're only making one carrot cake, right?
Right.
So now what you do is you blend that blend that cashew until it becomes a paste, and you pour it out into a little bowl and set it aside again.
Right.
We are prepping, and then we're going to assemble, right?
Right.
Then when you're making your carrot cake too, you can do it in two stages. So if you're going to use something like coconut cream, I like to use coconut cream because I love coconut, I have to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of those things that you can actually combine with your carrot, with your vegetables, right?
Right.
So the way to get real ready-made coconut cream is to stick a can of coconut milk into the refrigerator overnight.
Right.
And when you take it out in the morning and you open it, you're going to see all the cream at the top and the water at the bottom.
Okay.
Don't waste the water. It's beautiful for your smoothies and it's beautiful for a little oatmeal. It's absolutely fantastic. Don't throw that away. But the cream is what you will need, right?
Right.
So you put your coconut in the refrigerator, and the coconut milk in the can. And the best one is Grace. I have to tell you, I'm not a promoter for the company. I don't work for them. But I'm telling you that you get the best cream when you use their milk. I have to tell you, coconut milk. And or you can just make it at home on your own, right? But that's a long process again that we can talk about. You spoon out the cream and put it into a bowl again.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do is add a little sweetener to it if you want to,
Right.
and then spice it up with a little nutmeg, a little vanilla, little things like that. Put them again. You can just spice them up, right?
Right.
Then if you use cocoa butter, you can use cocoa butter, but the best thing is a little coconut oil.
Right.
Extra virgin coconut oil. It does the trick.
All right.
Yeah. So now we have done all of the prepping. Now we are going to assemble.
Right.
So we're going to get now all of everything in the bowls all by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Then we are going to now get or whatever I like to use the spring form pans. And the spring form pans, are those baking tins where you can actually just it has a handle on it, and once you release it, you can take out the bottom, and so you can take your cake out underneath. You can just lift the sides from around it, right? So
Right.
if you don't sorry, brother Noble.
Yeah, man, that's right.
Yeah, so if you don't use a spring form pan, you can use just an ordinary little, what you say now, freezer friendly dish bowl, preferably one that has a flat base. All right, so here's how you're going to assemble it now. You're going to use a little of you can use a little ground. I like to use walnuts. Ground walnuts. You just chop them up in the food processor, not fine into a powder, just chop, and then you place I don't know if you can make your own little margarine at home, or you can use just a little bit of the coconut oil, mix it into it so that it will set down in the bottom. It comes together like a little mold, like a little dough, and you press it into the bottom of the baking pan, right? Now, when you press it down, you're basically going to be making the base of the cake, right?
Okay.
When you put that down, you're going to now spread it. Use something, maybe the bottom of a glass, a drinking glass, and press it down so that it is firm. Stick it into the refrigerator for a half an hour so that it will set and hold together, right? When you're done with that, when it is set in the refrigerator, you pull it out, and that carrot mix that you had, you're now going to place a layer of that.
Mm-hmm.
You can do one of two things, brother Noble. You can mix together the carrot and the one of the thickeners, which is the cashew, or the other. But I prefer to use the carrot just as a layer. Then
Right.
I place the cashew cream on top of that.
Right.
Then I place another layer of carrot. Then I place the coconut cream on top. Or you can mix them all together,
Mm-hmm.
place them and just press them down in your baking pan.
Right.
Press it so that it's nice and neat and tight.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do to do that is just put a piece of parchment paper over the top, and use your hand and press it right down. Press
Right.
it down as much as possible so it holds together and it's firm. And you can just, when you're done with all of that and it's nice and neat and firm, just stick it into the refrigerator anywhere from 12 to 36 hours. It's going to get real nice and firm. You can freeze it too. You can take it out, slice it, dice it, do anything you want to do with it, and most of all, enjoy it with some ice cream. Some homemade vegan ice cream.
Wow. Thank you, man. That sounds good. That sounds good.
I hope you got everything I was able to say.
Right. Right. That's right. Thank you, man.
I know you'll be able, it's easy, man. You'll be able to make it.
Yes.
It's going to be delicious. So, no, listen, Brother Noble, some people use the dates. They add dates when they are
But
making the carrot. But here's the thing.
for
We
sweetness.
look we look at the combination of
Right.
the foods, right? And you
Right.
remember I don't know if you were there when we did the whole program on food combinations. So
No.
if
No.
we are going to be using the dates,
Right.
you realize there's a cross there.
Oh.
Okay?
Right.
So yeah, so we really would rather use a little honey.
Right.
You use brown sugar, you can use that.
Okay.
I much prefer the honey or the maple syrup.
Right.
So that is what I use.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
And it's much nicer when you put it in the freezer too, and you slice it. You literally just cut into it. It's absolutely fantastic. And
Wow.
when you do that, you can actually just use your fork and you cut down on it, and it's delightful. Oh, you know something that people love? Cheesecake.
Wow. Wow.
Cheesecake, and you can have a real nice raw cheesecake. I can tell you, you can have a really delightful cheesecake too.
Wow.
But I think tonight we have done quite a bit, and I think we are all out of time now. So if I do not have any other request for a recipe, then I would like to say um I would like to say thank you to the Lord first and foremost for his wisdom and his grace that He has allowed us to so to benefit from and to so gracefully be able to utilize to educate ourselves and others for the growth and development of ourselves and others. So I have to thank God for whatever he has afforded us humbly and gratefully. I want to say thanks to all my visitors. I really do appreciate you stopping by, always coming, always being so willing to tune in on a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. I look forward to being in this forum and to sharing with you and to hearing from you. Although you don't talk to me much, but that's fine. I'm just happy to be in your company. All right. I want to say thanks to Dr. And Abby because they're always there if anything is amiss. And by the way, every single thing that I come here and I present, I can stand on the mountain top and talk about it because I can stand behind it, right? Anything, it is like saying in the beginning was the word. Whatever I come here and speak, I can stand behind it, I can stand for it. I think most, if not all the things, at least 95% of the things I talk about here, I live and I preach because I have had to go through it, and I still continue to go through it because these are the things that help to restore me to where I am. I just want to say that, okay? So I thank God for all these researchers and all people like Dr. Agatha Trash from that has done such wonderful work with at Uchi Pines. Her son, Dr. Calvin Trash, and the person who is currently running Uchi Pines, Dr. Mark Sandoval, and all his team there. They are a wonderful, wonderful group of Christian, dedicated, God-fearing people who are anointed with the word so that they go and they help people to restore their health, and they help people to live longer. They help people to balance themselves and get a grip on their whole lifestyle so that they can live longer. People like myself, I'm going 6 years now, celebrating being cancer free and maintaining my body because of all that God has anointed these people to help me to do. So now my excitement is to share what I know and share what I learn and share what I continue every day to live by with every single individual that comes here. And I'm glad to see you, and I hope that in next week each week that you come, you can invite a friend so that we can all learn together and be wiser by God's grace in how we eat and how we treat our bodies, and be at a place where we can prevent and maintain our bodies when it comes to cancer and other diseases, not just cancer, other lifestyle diseases, right? And of course, as usual, we have to thank the one and only little Gabrielle because she's our little technician. If I never had her boy, I don't know what I would do. But I would have to depend on the master to give me a little more knowledge. But thank you all. Thank you for coming, and thank you for always being here. I encourage you. One request I have of every individual that's here tonight: please try at least one of the recipes, that look over them. We have 13 lessons now, sessions that we've done. Please look back over it and look at the things, look at the recipes, and try your utmost best to make some of these recipes. Try to create from some of these recipes, and try as much as possible to make your food at home. Do as much as you can for yourself, or try to do your whole food plant-based meals and try to get someone. If you can't do it, learn from someone or get trusting people to make them and to help you to do them, because this is the way you're going to preserve your bodies Preserve it for your family, preserve it for your community, preserve it for the work that God has each one of us to do, and also preserve it for eternity because the Father expects it of us. So thank you, everybody. And I'll see you next week, Thursday. Hopefully, we can start in our kitchen. And you can cook with us while I cook and share and enjoy myself as I always do. My favorite place in the house is my kitchen. You all know that, right? I love the cooking. And cooking and food is art to me. I love to create, I love to design because food, oh, your food must be your medicine, but it must also be beautiful when you are consuming it. All right?